Hey guys, Wipe My Knives here again. Just doing some sanding on this cleaver right here. Just doing some hand sanding on it, and I just wanted to talk with you guys about how I got into knife making. A lot of guys ask me that, and it's not exactly a long story, but I mean I still like to share. It's not a lot of people ask me, and just want to get it out there. So basically, I got into knife making about, well, a couple years ago. I've been doing it full-time for about a year and a half, but a couple years ago, I just kind of got interested in doing something with my hands over my regular job. And I was going to school for natural resources, and I was going to be a fish technician. And that's basically, somebody who looks after a fish farm. And that's what I was kind of getting into. I never really liked any of the other Common Core classes. I was always kind of a little bit different than most people. Wanted to be outside or wanted to be doing something with my hands, and I just didn't really have all that much fun with the, I guess the regular jobs that you would see. The problem with me was that I got really bored with what I did. It was just my job, and I did it, and I worked for a paycheck and came home. And that's all the jobs up until I started working with natural resources. That was a pretty good job. I enjoyed working there, but for the most part, all the other jobs that I had worked at were really, really boring for me. And knife making kind of just unlocks my brain. It lets me get on that creative level, and I can always do something different. If I get bored of doing one thing, if I just get bored on one knife and I kind of want to change it up, or let's say put different handles on it, use a natural material rather than a G10 or something, I can do that. So it's that freedom there that I like. It's just a lot just healthier for me, I guess. But yeah, I got into knife making kind of while I was still, I was on break from college, down at Hawking College in Ohio. Yeah, I was on break, and then I just kind of decided, I see all these knife videos, and I kind of want to make one, and just kind of see where it goes. I just kind of wanted to hobby around and have fun with it at first. So I ordered some steel. Well, actually, my dad ordered some steel. And, he was kind of thinking about doing the same thing, just hobbying around. And so he bought some steel over at Admiral Steel. That's where I get all my stuff from. And he's like, well, why don't you go ahead and try to make a knife? And so I tried, and, at the time I didn't have any grinders or any fancy tools or just anything. It was all very, very basic. I had some of the tools that I still actually use, which would be my angle grinder, which I used to cut out profiles. But I kind of I drew up a design, and set it down on the steel, traced it out, cut it out. And then, then came the bevels. It was like the hard part of doing a knife in the beginning. You don't really kind of stumble into it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that kind of works. And I ended up making a filing jig and put it on our picnic table, and just kind of filed my bevels like that. And I mean, one bevel ended up taking me, I don't know, like an hour and 30 minutes of, hand beveling this knife. And it just, I even put like a thumb rest on the back, and it was like way too close to the handle, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is just, turning out not the way that I intended it. But, and then I broke away from that. I didn't even finish the knife, because I was just like, no, there's just no way I'm gonna finish this and make it to be not exactly how I want it. So what I did was I scrapped that completely and tried designing something else. I didn't take anybody else's designs. I've never done that. But I just made my knife designs really, really simple at first. had a good handle, a good workable blade, wasn't nothing crazy. And I feel like doing that really got me into the basics fairly well. Like, you know, it was easy because if you're trying to do some complex grind on a knife and, you know, like a weird crazy handle or anything like that, you know, it makes it really, really hard on the newbie maker. You know, you're just creating all these problems for yourself that you don't need at that level. So I made my knives really, really simple at first, and I just kind of wanted to see, you know, how far I could get, you know, and I mean, simple often yields better results, so that's kind of what I based everything on in the beginning. And some of my designs now are even pretty simple, but they're just a lot more advanced in certain ways. Ergonomics is a huge thing. You got to get that handle just right. I mean, make a handle that fits in your hand, not a handle that looks cool or anything. Make a handle that fits. And then another thing on your blades, yeah, don't go with any crazy bevels. Just go with, you know, a simple as you can get, pretty much. You'll learn the basics pretty quick. So then, you know, I said to heck with filing a knife. I'm going to make a grinder. So me and my dad kind of put our heads together and we made a 2x72 belt grinder, which you guys have seen on my one of my other videos. And so that was like one of the, I think like my second video or something like that. So we made that. I ordered some wheels from Beaumont Metalworks. They were like $200, and I ended up making the grinder for about $400, and used the treadmill for the motor. Biggest advice I can tell you guys is that treadmill motors do run out, and they're gonna need to be replaced. At least the one that I had. You know, you never know if you get a used one. So if you want to make your own grinder, get a good motor. Spend the money, get a good motor, and kind of make it worth your while. So yeah, I ended up making that grinder, and then that grinder lasted me 40 knives before it just finally went kaput. And on the motor itself, the brushes wore out. Tried to replacing the brushes, and worked for a little while longer after that, and then it was just dead. I think the motor just ran out from just the heavy duty use on it and all that. So, but you know, that grinder got me started. If I had to recommend something for somebody to get started in the knife making, I would say go with the that Harbor Freight, the little, you know, $50 grinder. You know, it's like a 1x30 grinder, and I mean, I've seen guys produce really nice knives off of it. You could make this knife right here off of that grinder. It's all skill level. You know, you got to build that skill level. You know, when I was first starting out, it just wasn't that great, which nobody is. You know, like, I mean, there's lots of guys that start out and they're fairly good at doing, you know, the knives and everything, but there's always room for improvement, especially on your second one. So then I decided to kind of like, you know, up my game and try to do something a little bit better. And I eventually got, you know, that right over there, my KMG grinder, which, oh my gosh, that was miles better from what I had. And I eventually kind of learned, like, and I'm still, you know, learning that now, that people want, if you're into custom knife making, do the best you can do. You know, don't go out and just do like a whole bunch of production run of some kind of crappy knife, or, you know, something with not that much quality to it. I mean, there's a market for high quality knives, you know, for sure, and there's makers out there that do all sorts of high quality knives, and that's what people really want. Just take your time with your knives, you know, like, you know, don't try to bust one out in 4 hours or something, you know, like, and think about the money that you're gonna get. You know, really take your time and learn the processes and learn them well. You know, because if you learn it correctly the first time and you go back around the second time, you're gonna be quicker. You're gonna learn different things. Just kind of faster ways to do things, and So yeah, that's the biggest thing I can tell you. Just take your time on your first knife and make it as best as you possibly can, and then you'll go far, for sure. Especially if you're handy in the craft. But you know, I've met guys that weren't really all that great when they first started, and then they ended up being really, really good. I think, you know, some people just get a jump start on things like this. If they've been around tools or a shop their whole life, then they get a bit of a head start. But yeah, and then after I got my KMG, it was like, you know, my stuff was turning out a lot better. I was able to produce them much more faster. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of went from there. And it was an investment that I had to do, you know. Like, if I want to do this, I have to invest in some good machines. And that's why I got the KMG. You know, I did a Google search and got on there and found out that KMG was top of the line, and I decided to go down there in Columbus. I'm in Ohio. I'm only about an hour and 30 minutes away, and I went out down there and bought the best one that they had to offer. Ended up getting the variable speed 2x72, and well, no, I didn't get the bigger motor. I opted for the 1.5 horse, or the 2 horse on 220. But you know, that's okay. It works great. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting into it or anything, just invest in good machinery. But you know, if you're starting out and kind of feeling your way around and you don't really know yet, go with that Harbor Freight, that 1x30. I mean, you can make beautiful knives off of it. It just takes considerably longer time. But yeah, that's a little bit about my background and how I kind of got started. And you know, I had always been kind of into stuff like this. You know, my dad always kind of had me out in the shop and working on things and, you know, tinkering around. And my dad is more into the blacksmithing side of knives, and he kind of likes doing that. And I just preferred the stock removal, but he might be getting in on it with me after he ends up retiring and getting having a little bit more time to himself. But you know, that'll be a bit down the road, but it should be pretty fun. So looking forward to it. And yeah, that's my story. Yeah, any questions or anything, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.